Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today I have a very special guest. I have the one, the famous, the oh-so-awesome Miss Meghan Brazel in the house. Meghan, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
It only took me like 3 times to actually record that intro. You know, for everybody out there that's watching and listening that thinks that, you know, doing podcasts, I'm just like a one-take person. No, we make mistakes. We do. It happens. But hey, Meghan, I'm excited to have the conversation with you. We recently had the opportunity to connect on LinkedIn and just so impressed about how you guys are doing, you know, as a dealership, and then also you as an individual and your social efforts. And, you know, I love where you are in the community that you have. You're kind of this really cool kind of bubble. And I think there's a lot that we can actually learn from yourself and how your dealership has approached, you know, social media. But before we kind of get into those conversations today, I thought we'd kick off today's podcast with a little origin story, because I always find it so fascinating how people get into this business. So Meghan, what is the origin story of how you got started in the automotive business?
Well, I think that like a lot of people in the industry listening to these podcasts, I hear it all the time. It's an accident. It's completely by accident. I was a server through most of my 20s. Didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I went to school, took French just to have a degree in something, and kind of just kept working in the restaurant industry, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and who I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was 27 and actually got offered a job as reception by our dealer principal, just a part-time job. And I said, well, I've got a full-time job right now, so I'll stick this one out. But thank you. I knew her through hockey, so that was kind of nice. And then from there, a few months later, I said, you know what, I kind of, I'd like a change up. I'd like to switch it up. And I called her up and said, hey, any chance you still have a job? And she said, well, not as reception, but how do you feel about selling cars? And I said, I've never thought about that. I mean, I've sold clothing before, but that's about it. So, I mean, I'll talk about it. I have no idea anything. I don't understand cars. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know them. So let's try. Let's see what happens. So she set me up with my GSM, and we had a meeting. And I said, well, I don't know anything about cars, but I do like to help people, and I like to have fun. And I get bored easily, which means that I'll always be trying to do something new and learn something new. So if you're good with that, so am I. So I tried it out, and here we are 5 years later.
That's so cool. And, you know, once it gets into your blood, it is really hard to get it out. I mean, it's just, you get that fix and you're like, oh man, it's like a high. I just want to do it again. I want to do it again. And you know what? It's funny that you said that you easily get bored and you're constantly going to try to do something new, because I'm the exact same way. You know, like I had to try out everything, you know, inside of a dealership. I mean, I actually got a lot of crap for leaving the sales side of the business just to go explore the service side of the business. And to your point, I got bored. I just had to try new things. And, you know, I almost sometimes wonder if I was a salesperson today, given all the opportunity that we have with creating content, podcasts and social media, I was like, what kind of salesperson would I look like today versus when I started? And I think that's kind of a great segue to kind of into our conversation today is, you know, you've really adopted social media into your guys' efforts, but more from a branding perspective. And the byproduct looked like you've generated some great opportunities to have conversations and even some sales. But my first question is like, why? What made you decide to, you know, really kind of get into social media?
Oh, so that's a very good question. I've always been on social media ever since I started in the industry. I always just thought it's a great way to reach people. I think probably after about 6 months, maybe a little bit more, but around that of being in the industry, I came up with Your Honda Meg. And it was really about, making myself be the person that other people could look to help them out with cars. Coming from a background of not knowing anything about vehicles, not understanding the car industry. I mean, I've never bought a new car in my life personally. I've watched my parents do it. I bought a used car, but I've never been to a new car dealership to go shopping. So I really wanted to be a person that could help kind of break it down back to the basics for people so that people who, I mean, we know all the time people come in and they don't know what they're talking about and they're maybe too shy to say something or they're embarrassed. And I really want to bring it back to the basics to explain these things to people. So I changed my Instagram name to Your Honda Meg and just started posting videos here and there, some stories. And I kind of was ish regular with it just because I didn't really know how far to commit. So then I did that for a while. I've done some Snapchat stuff on my own personal Facebook. I've done some stuff, but then COVID happened and I got laid off for 6 weeks, as did the entire universe. So I spent that time being, a little depressed for a while. I think we all were,
Oh, yeah.
especially somebody who, it was people who, I don't sit still well. So it was tough for the first little while. And then I started finding podcasts. I started finding you and, all the other podcasts out there and started listening to what's going on in the automotive industry, really connecting with people that way. And that sparked my interest. And I went back to work and I said, I'm going to make a Facebook page. So I did that. And then that took off. It's doing really, really well. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn as well. And I'll still do the odd Snapchat story here and there. Tried TikTok, but I feel too old for that. I still try it. I just don't know really what to do with it yet.
I tried TikTok myself too. And I can't dance. And I've been told that my dancing reminds people of a seizure with a tiny bit of rhythm. And that sounds horrible. It might be the best way to explain my attempt to actually dance. I wasn't there either. I couldn't quite do TikTok, but I covered all the other bases. What I'm always kind of curious is the routine. Because I find there's a lot of salespeople out there, a lot of managers out there, a lot of dealerships out there that understand the value in getting into social and being social and creating content that people actually want to consume. And then normally where it kind of falls off is just the routine, right? It's like going to the gym. It's like, I know I got to lose 20 pounds. I know how to lose 20 pounds, but if I don't make a routine out of it, it ain't going to happen, right? So I'm kind of curious, what does your social media routine look like for you?
So I'm still figuring it out, honestly. Since May, coming back after being laid off, I was the busiest I've ever been in my career. I've sold more cars this year than I ever have, and I've been busier than ever, and it's wonderful. But trying to fit in a social media routine along with that has been good and bad. I think a lot of people agree with the fact that once you're busy, you do better, and you're always kind of on your game. So I just started posting all the time. That was my biggest fear with starting a Facebook page in years past. I didn't want to do it because I wasn't sure that I would have the time to commit to posting as much as I knew that I would have to actually build that following and to do it the proper way. I'm kind of all or nothing. I like to do things really well or not at all. I'm very much a perfectionist. So I've kind of learned how to, in the last little while, schedule with the help of my marketing girl. She's fantastic. She's helped me schedule a lot of it and figure out how to schedule. You can post through Facebook Business Suite and do Instagram as well. And doing some research, finding out what time of day is best for different platforms. LinkedIn's best probably first thing in the morning, whereas Facebook and Instagram are better lunchtime, dinner time. So you kind of work that in. And I actually just print out a paper schedule and I write what I'm going to do. Awesome. And keep coming up with new ideas and say, okay, I'll do this the second Wednesday of every month. And then it's a monthly kind of featured video. And just kind of, I'm still figuring it out. I really am.
Oh, you know what? I am too. I've been doing this very heavily for several years, and by no means do I think that I'm a professional at this. Every single day, every single time I post something, I just learn that much more about the audience and how to connect with them and how to execute higher or better and so on and so forth. And I love the fact that you have a well-defined routine, because I think that's the key for everything. I mean, when we're thinking of sales, I mean, even like follow up, I was really good at follow up because I had a routine, but without my routine, I would suck at it. I was one of those people. I could find 52 other things to do than to pick up that phone and call that customer, right? But it was, if I scheduled it out and it was like, no, like this is my routine. It was every other half hour I'd have to go on either hit the phones or hit the emails or something along that lines. And I stuck to that, and I'd set a little alarm clock. Actually, I had an alarm clock that I used in my office at the time. Now it's great because you can just do it on your phone. But but it's through that routine that we get better. And I think that's the first part for everybody, right? It's like, don't worry necessarily about the analytics. Don't necessarily worry about like who's going to gauge and how often they're going to gauge and so on and so forth. If you create the routine, you get consistent with the routine, then it's like you can kind of improve through the execution of that routine. So that's awesome that you actually put a calendar together. Now, I find a lot of salespeople out there, though, they don't even necessarily get to the routine part because they have a fear of hitting that red button and just doing it. So I'm curious, because I know everyone at some point overcomes this. How did you overcome the fear of hitting the red button?
So I don't know that there was a moment where I was just like okay with it. I really don't. I've always just kind of I I don't really care what I look like on video, which sounds terrible, but I'm like, if I make a fool of myself, whatever, people can laugh at me. It makes for better content, in my opinion. But if I mess up or make somebody laugh, that's perfect. But for me, it was always that I want to make sure I'm delivering good content and good information. I feel like we do a lot of used car videos too for our dealership,
Hmm.
right? So that has been going on since I started. So I was kind of one of the first people to start doing those videos. I had to get over it real quick. So for the longest time, I just wouldn't watch myself because I had no interest in seeing what I looked like. I'm like, well, it's done. Whatever it is, it is. And then the more you post on Instagram, the more you do stories. They're going to disappear in 24 hours. So it's not as scary, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Or Snapchat or whatever. Like they go away, right? So you're like, well, if it was that bad, it'll just go away. And then eventually you just get to a point where you just do it and single take, and it just kind of goes from there. I've always been better at single take, first time, and then if I start doing more, then I really start screwing up and making mistakes.
Oh, I'm the exact same way. If I don't hit it the first time, I know I'm going to mess it up 3 or 4 more times. But I think the key to executing content is understanding that you are going to screw it up. And I guess for a lot of people, to get over that fear of hitting the red button is just accept the fact that you're going to mess it up. You're gonna put out some stuff that you're gonna shake your head and go, "What the hell was that? What did I just say?
What
Did
did
I
I
not
just
just do a
do?"
recording? I think I called you Mister or something like that. It was like, look, I make mistakes. We screw up, and
Yeah.
it's just like But once you know that you're going to screw up, then it's okay when it happens. You just kind of move forward. Now, one of the things that you said that I thought was really super important for any salespeople out there that are listening, watching right now, and are looking to get into the content game and create their social media, I guess, space, which is important, I think, for anybody out there to do, was the fact that you said what it was going to be for the customer, right? So you wanted them to
Yes.
smile, right? And I think that's a great way to get over the fear, is understand ultimately what your goal is behind the content. And I find that to make it easy for you, is probably 2 great goals. It's either you educate or you entertain. That will give you
Yes.
direction of content, so you're not just sitting there and you hit the red button and then you're like a deer caught in the headlights. what's my name? Which happens. Yeah, but if you know what your intent is behind going into the video, then you know your tone, you know your body language. You're going to feel more confident, I think, by hitting that button. Is like, am I going to educate someone on this product or service? Am I going to entertain them? And I think that's probably a great way to get started. Now, I always find for a lot of people on social media is trying to find the balance between educating and entertaining. Sometimes it's tough. I know it's even tough for me. So I'm curious for you, how do you kind of go about that? How do you balance the both education and entertainment content?
I have no idea. I'm
That's a
sorry, I
fair
don't.
answer.
I don't. I think I just keep an eye on my insights. I pay attention to that. Entertainment. I mean, I'm not a natural comedian by any means. I'm more of if I make a mistake or whatever, I'll laugh at myself, which is entertaining.
Yep.
And there is a lot of fun stuff with the car industry that you can make fun. As a dealership, a lot of our content is fun when we do like all the salespeople together. We do a lot of entertainment, and I'll share that. Our Halloween, like we love to dress up, and at Christmas we dress up and we have a good time. So that kind of content is what I post. But I'm very much an educational poster. I really, really, really want to deliver educational content because I believe that we are in an industry where the internet's available and everybody's had an experience of buying a car in their life.
Sure.
Almost everybody. And if they haven't, their parents have, or their aunt has, or whoever. So everybody's got different mindsets and different thought processes of how the process is going to go, what they're expecting, who you're going to talk to and what they're going to try to do to you and all of these things. Where if I can just deliver content that tells people what it's going to look like when you come see me, then it deflates all the barriers that a lot of people have when they think about car shopping, because it's such an uncomfortable thing for most people. I want to make it fun. I want to make it not stiff and not painful and not a hated thing. It shouldn't be miserable to come and buy a car. You should be able to have a good time, So if you kind of break down those barriers ahead of time, that's kind of my goal.
Well, and I think what's cool is that you have a passion for Honda, which I think is something that it doesn't sound like it existed prior to you having the job. It sounds like your passion for Honda kind of built up into you doing the job, and I think that's where a lot of people kind of get stuck on too, is they feel like they have to create a brand and they have to create content around what they do for a living, but what you do for a living doesn't necessarily always have to be your passion, right? I have many salespeople out there. I have one in particular that his passion is fishing. That's he works at a dealership. He sells trucks. That's his job, and he enjoys doing it. But if you really want to get him going, you ask him questions about fishing, right? And so he creates all this amazing content around fishing. But people are connecting with him through that. But they all know what he does at the end of the day. So it worked out with you because as you started working for Honda, you grew this passion for Honda, and the brand and the product kind of grew along with it. So it's easy for you. Do you find it's easy for you to talk about it because of the passion you have?
Oh, 1000%. Honda's an incredible company. They work really, really hard towards a very valuable product, a very valuable process. They take their salespeople very seriously, and their management and everybody that works for the company very seriously. They're very, very specific when it comes to building their product and quality control and so many little things that make you want to sell the product. And then when you go to their training, Honda talks a lot about what makes them different, which is what builds that value and that quality in the vehicle, stuff that you won't find in other vehicles. There's just so many little things that they do that make the product that good. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of great cars out there, and I think that I find a lot of challenges with some of the cars out there for sure. But I am super passionate about my brand because of what I've learned about it and how Honda how seriously Honda takes their vehicles and takes the process and the people and everything. I just think they're an incredible company. And I like to dive all in too. So it's like, if I'm working for Honda, I always say to people, customers in my office, if I don't believe in something, I can't sell it. Just plain and simple. You'll read it all over my face. I just can't do it. So
Well, and
I love the product. I love the brand.
It's your excitement and your passion and your love for the product. It's infectious. And I think a lot of salespeople don't necessarily understand, like, the time that you invest into this, how it benefits you is people want to be a part of that. They look at that and go, look how happy Meghan is selling Hondas. Look how happy she is talking about the CRV. I mean, it's an SUV at the end of the day. It's
another SUV. Yep.
But the way that you describe it, like, you really do get excited about it. And I feel like, when people are looking to make that sizable transaction, they want to connect and they want someone that's excited about it. And I was telling a story earlier today on another podcast. I just bought some new appliances, and I might as well just order them online. It was actually more it took more energy just talking to the salesperson, let alone just, I mean, like, I was excited to go in to buy, this product. I was going to get, the Samsung refrigerator with the TV in it. I'm like, this is going to be so, I'm a geek.
Yes.
I'm an electronic geek. So I love that kind of stuff. Right. And I was so excited about this. And then I got there and it's like, literally, like, the salesperson, like popped my balloon. Just like, had nothing good to say about the product. Had nothing. It was just like, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to, I'm like, wow. I was like here going into it, and then you deflated. I just like totally walked out. But it's that passion. So that's where I see the biggest advantage, I think, for a lot of salespeople out there, is that I get to experience your passion, get a taste for it before I come in. So then when I connect, this is my next kind of question for you is, do you find that when people do come in and that have engaged with your social media in the past, do you feel like you connect with them a lot faster?
Oh, definitely. Yes. I get people, it's funny, I'll get people coming to the dealership for service, and they'll pop by my office and say, oh, you're the Meg in the videos, right? Or like, I had somebody stop me in Metro one day and was like, are you Honda Meg? And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that you don't realize how far your videos are actually reaching. I mean, you look at your insights, right? But
Sure.
You don't see everybody that you touch. And you and I have talked about this. So you don't really see how far your reach is until stuff like that happens. And it's super cool. And I think it's awesome when people come in and they say, well, I want to work with Meg because I saw her video, and it's huge, right? And yes, it does break down barriers. You do connect with people easier. And I have friends through, I'm involved in a lot of sports in the city, and friends through that who say, oh yeah, your video on that, I really liked it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were paying attention to my videos. That's kind of cool, right? So even people I know that just kind of comment on them casually, you're like, oh, that's okay, cool. It's neat.
That is cool. I love it every single time it happens. I actually have a weird reason why I started making content and I got into social media. It sounds very odd when I say it out loud and almost kind of pompous, but I have this crazy idea in my head that I show up to networking events because I love networking events. I love working the room. it's just one of my passions, right?
So good. I love it too.
My idea is that I want to be able to show up and not have to introduce myself to anybody and bypass the first 6.5 minutes of awkward chit chat of like, what do you do and who are you and stuff like that. So like, but I think it's important though that, that when people do start with their social media efforts, that they do have some goal in mind. It can be a huge one, it could be a small one, but at least it gives some of their efforts direction. So I'm kind of curious for you.
I warned you.
Hey, no, it's cats, kids, you name it. That always pops up the podcast somewhere. So,
yeah.
For you, what was kind of your goal getting into it? What were one of the things that you were kind of surprised about, kind of as you progressed into your social efforts?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think that before I started really going really strong with my social efforts was how many people I talked to on a daily basis, including, friends and, even coworkers in the dealership who stuff that about the car industry that you kind of think people know. and they really just don't. I just kind of assumed I was a bit of an outlier before I started working because when I just I didn't know anything about anything about cars at all. So I assumed I was kind of like a little bit of an oddball. But more people than you know are confused about the car industry or think they know one thing but actually know something else. So a big part of that was my social media game was like, let's 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 help people out. Let's help educate people. You always worry about how much of your process do you give away online, right? Versus I want to save that for the experience people are going to get when they come in to see me because that should be special too.
Of
But
course.
when you give it to people online, people are getting stuff online every day of the week. So why not? Why not give them everything they're looking for and really help educate people about what buying a car is like, what the process is like. There's just so many different levels. So that was the goal behind my social. I just wanted to help people. I felt like I could relate to people who even people who are super educated about buying cars and who have done it a ton of times. I can relate to them because I'm stubborn and I refuse to not know the answer to any questions. So beyond that, it's like I feel like I can relate to people through a screen.
Well, I think that's very true. Like we can connect, and that's a great way to kind of put out these kind of autonomous ways to connect with people. The more content you put out, the more opportunities a potential customer has to connect with you and consume. And they hear your voice, they hear your tonality, they hear your excitement, they see the passion, and it just says so much. I want to change gears just a little bit here because I'm curious to get your thoughts on dealership social media efforts. Because here's the kicker. I actually think, for the most part, individual salespeople do a hell of a lot better than the actual dealership does. And it's just there's some dealerships that do really well. There's a lot that just simply straight up don't get it at all. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to kind of hear your thoughts on how a dealership should be doing social media.
Oh, dealership social media is everything. It's super important. I think that dealerships, they have to do their standard advertising, the bonuses on CRV or whatever they're advertising. I think that's all normal stuff that you have to do, right? So that's expected. I think that dealership social media should be about the salespeople and the service department and the people in the background and everybody that's out there, introducing people to your team, showing them who you are, showing them what your culture is as a dealership. Our dealership is community driven. We're very, very strong about that. We're very customer service oriented. We take care of people. And you see that when you come through the doors and you talk to anybody in there. And our social media, that's a big deal too, right? You got to show that on your social media, and you got to have fun with it. So for us, we do a lot of collaborative work with the salespeople. We did a race video for an award that happens in the Sioux, and it's funny because people love that more than anything. People absolutely adore seeing the real side of your dealership, of your people, because then you're not just a big scary building anymore. You're actually, you're actually human. You're human beings, and people don't know to look for your Honda Meg or whoever else is a salesperson in the dealership, right? People don't know to look for a single individual. They look for a dealership. So when you're looking for a dealership online and you see funny videos that they're posting and stuff, the salespeople are doing stuff together. It shows that they're a team, that they're not just, out to hound you. They have fun at work, and it really shows a culture, and it shows that people enjoy going to work. And who else would you want to buy a car from, right?
No, I think that's a great point. Look, I think dealerships' social efforts should be highlighting the collectiveness of all their little micro brands. And what makes a dealership unique at the end of the day is never their product. I mean, I know it's a little different for you guys where you are, but I mean, it's for here, there's 18 Honda dealerships I could drive to, within about an hour commute, So they're all selling the same bloody product. They're all going to sell it within a few dollars of each other. There's not going to be any big changes there. And I love the way you said it, because it's so totally true. Really, what makes a dealership different from each other is A, their operations, and then B, the big one, the one that you said, is the people, it's the team. Because you can't duplicate that, right? Like if I wanted to create a 1 hour delivery process in, out, and on your way, right? Like I could, but then a dealership could easily duplicate that, right? They could figure it out and kind of duplicate it, right? But they can't duplicate those micro brands, those salespeople that they have inside of their dealership. I mean, if it was up to me, I would pretty much just delete every single picture of someone picking up their car at a delivery, because look, we all know you're a car dealership. And, you're never going to see a picture of someone who wasn't happy about picking up their car. So I'm like,
Fair.
all right, cool. You sell cars. Thanks for letting us know. Right. But I think the real value in the social media is those stories, and those individuals are those stories. Right. Yeah. It's the service manager in the back, and it's the accounting clerks upstairs, and it's the receptionist that's, doing this as a part-time job and getting their degree in, economics on the side. It's just like, it's all these amazing individuals that make up the bigger part of what a dealership's community, I think, is the key thing. I find, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. I find dealerships understand the media portion of social media, but they don't necessarily understand the social part of social media. They skip that one altogether. And I'm curious if you've seen some really good examples, maybe some stuff that you guys have done, or examples of other dealerships that were just really, they were very social in their efforts. Have you seen some cool examples?
Oh, off the top of my head, I'd have to look back, but I see stuff all the time that's really bad, but also I see stuff all the time that's really good. And you really have to, it's important, right? To be social on social networks. When you're just constantly hitting people with sale this and sale that, it drives me crazy, because people know you've got a deal. Everybody's got a deal. There's always deals going on. Best deals of the year. Well, of course,
100%.
Every 12 months, every month it's the best deal of the year, right? Like everybody's got a deal. So talk about something else. Talk about your people and your process and everything else. You're absolutely right. You've said it before that it's about being social. In social media, people are just going to scroll past you if all you're posting about is the next deal and the payments and all of that stuff. There's a time and a place to throw something like that in there, definitely, but it's not an all the time thing. You need to engage your people. You need to connect with them, and I think that's huge. I think that's everything, right? And personality-wise, you need to connect with people.
Well, and that's what it is about creating an online community. See, like I remember early social media, like people we're going to go online, we're going to build an online community. And I was like, that sounds like a really good idea. Like it's a place that people would see value in wanting to be a part of, right? And that's what all these little micro online communities are. And, I find dealers actually, for the most part, I think do a pretty decent job of being, in their community, meaning in the sense that, like, they'll sign the check for the local sports team, or they'll pay to park the car at the Rib Fest, like they'll be in the community so people are aware of them. But it's not often that you see a dealership that's actually like a part of the community. Where it's like when you think of, the Sioux, all right, like where you're located, it's like there's a handful of dealerships there, but then there's some that just really embedded themselves into the community. When they think of the community, they think of the dealership, and I think dealerships have an opportunity to do this and to do it socially, because their own internal community, their staff, is part of the local community. So it's like it's a great way to kind of connect the dots. And I think dealerships need to, in social media, be a part of the community, not just in the community. There's so many opportunities we have as a dealership. We have physical space that people are looking for. It's like, why be an event when we can host our own events? So I'm actually gonna play a little game with you, Megan. I want to try this out.
Okay.
If there was Megan's Honda dealership, All right.
Okay.
All right. So Megan owned a Honda dealership, and how would you be a part of the community versus just being in the community? I'm curious.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things. I could talk for an hour about this. I mean, I'm super involved with sports. I already said that, but
Which
I
ones, by
play
the way?
hockey. Well, not anymore since I injured myself, but I did play hockey, soccer. I run the women's lacrosse league in the Sioux with a nice little group of women, and so I think sports would be a big part of it. Have a hockey game in the back of the lot, or have a charity
Mm-hmm.
soccer game or stuff like that. I think sports would be super fun. We're in such a tight knit community here of, goodness, what's our population? 70-ish thousand people, somewhere in there. So it's small. We did a thing a couple years ago with Spot the Civic, where we put a Civic that was deckled all around the city and got people to take selfies with it and post it to social media and hashtag Spot the Civic. That was an awesome contest. I love stuff like that. I love that idea. So I'd probably replicate something like that, because that gets people in the
Mm-hmm.
community
Mm-hmm.
involved, right? Involved with your cars and your dealership. All sorts of charity events. The things I could come up with, supporting local businesses, especially after COVID. The amount of things you can do to support local restaurants and businesses that are struggling a little bit.
Yep, that's a great example.
There's lots of good stuff you could do with them too. That's huge. So, I could go on forever.
Well, no,
Yeah,
but there's
there's
look, I think there's a lot of opportunities here, right?
absolutely.
Like I actually used to actually clear out my showroom and would lend it out to a women's group who was looking for a
Yes.
big space to be able to kind of get together on a quarterly basis. They got together. It was kind of a book club / kind of like a mother support club. It was really cool. Really loved it. It was very local, and but they would try to get together, everyone together, kind of on a quarterly basis. And it's not like these guys had a budget or anything like that. I mean, to go rent out a hall or so on and so forth. And I was like, well, Sundays, my dealership's closed. Do you want the showroom? I'll clear all the cars out, And I think it's just like that's being a part of the community, not just being in the community, right? I mean, I have a dealership right now.
Absolutely.
He's redoing his dealership, Ford dealership, and he's going to build out a community room at the
So
dealership.
we have one.
You guys have one?
We have one. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Tell me a little bit about that. How's that get used?
It's awesome. So it's a boardroom upstairs, and there's a nice TV up there. You can connect any of your social to it, or any presentations you're doing or anything like that. And holds around 30 to 40 people, somewhere in there. I mean, we're not doing it right now because of COVID,
Of course.
but we encourage anybody in the community to use it for free. So it's there. You just have to book it for any type of event. We've had book clubs. We've had people having meetings, doctors. We had this group of ladies who would bring in their sewing machines and do like a stitching club up there.
That's
and
cool.
they'd bring like a little lunch and have a little lunch and stitch all day, and then they'd go and get the boys around the dealership to bring their stuff upstairs for them. It was adorable.
That's so awesome.
It was so much fun. So yeah, anybody could use it. It was free to anybody in the community, and I'm sure one of these days it'll be open back up again. But yeah, it's an awesome thing.
See, those are the types of things that we create real, deep, meaningful, like community connections. And, it's like we can learn from kind of those physical connections and how we can kind of translate out to those digital connections. But at the end of the day, that's what the whole game's about, right? It's about just connecting with people on a human to human level, and just really being a part of the community rather than just being in the community. Look, Megan, I know it's towards the tail end of our time today. Gosh, that went by fast. I'm sure we could probably jam for a whole another hour.
It did go by fast. I could go on and on.
This has been a lot of fun. But before I let you go, though, for everyone out there that's watching and listening right now and would love to connect with you and kind of follow along with your journey, what is the best way to do so?
Oh, you can follow me on everything. I am always on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me your.hondameg on Instagram. That's my handle on Facebook as well. You can find me under my name, Meghan Brazel, and I think I have Your Honda Meg in my LinkedIn profile as well. And you can call me, you can text me. My cell number is 705-257-0765. I'm super open to chatting with anybody. So connect with me however you want. I'm on all of those all day. So
That's
you can find me
awesome.
on any of them.
Hey, Megan, thank you so much for jamming with me today. This has been a blast. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy Mob Podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to sign up to Be a Mobster at strategymob.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.